obese daughter sentenced to servitude by her father, but found unconditional love in the dust of the West. In the vast untamed expanse of the American West, where towering rock formations embraced arid valleys and the ceaseless desert wind whispered ancient tales through every shifting grain of sand, lay a small, isolated town known as Echo Creek. The year was 1888, a time when rigid social codes often outweighed compassion, and a family's reputation could dictate a person's very destiny. Here within the hallowed yet chilling walls of the affluent Blackwood estate, the life of Lady Alara Alden was suffocated by unspoken rules and the cruel prejudices of her own kin. It was here that her extraordinary, heart-wrenching, and ultimately triumphant story began. Alara was not the ethereal beauty, the slender, delicate lady her father, Lord Silas Alden, ruthlessly demanded. Her frame was full, her shoulders broad, a stark contrast to the willowy figures admired in society's drawing rooms. Beneath her heavy dresses beat a soul of profound sensitivity, and in her deep-set expressive eyes a perpetual sadness shimmered, reflecting the constant pain of her father's disapproval. In Silas's cold, calculating gaze, Lara was nothing more than a burden, a living testament to his family's supposed imperfection, a blight upon the illustrious Alden name he so fiercely guarded. His obsession with securing a prestigious marriage for her, one that would further elevate his social standing, bordered on madness. Yet with Alara's perceived physical flaws, such a union seemed utterly, hopelessly impossible. "You are too substantial, Alara." Her father's voice, as sharp and unforgiving as a winter gale, echoed through the grand cavernous hall. Portraits of stern ancestors, their painted eyes seeming to follow her every move, looked down like silent judging arbiters of her fate. "No man of means, no family of standing desires a bride such as you. You have brought nothing but shame upon this house, upon the Alden legacy." Each word was a poisoned dart striking deep into Alara's already fragile heart. She felt like a wounded bird, its wings not merely clipped, but savagely broken, rendering her utterly incapable of flight. Humiliation, a thick, suffocating shroud, enveloped her, pressing down with an unbearable weight. Despair, a bitter companion, became her constant shadow. Night after night, she would retreat to the cold solitude of her lavish bedchamber, burying herself beneath layers of silken blankets, her tears soaking the embroidered pillows. She had tried, oh how she had tried to conform to his impossible ideals. She had starved herself until her vision swam and her bones ached. She had exercised until her body rebelled in shuddering exhaustion. But the soft, feminine curves of her figure stubbornly refused to disappear. Each time she dared to glimpse her reflection in the polished silver mirror, she saw only a distorted, hateful image, a cruel testament to her perceived failure in her father's eyes and in the mirror of the society he worshipped. This gnawing obsession with not being good enough, not being worthy of love or acceptance, had burrowed deep into her mind, transforming into an invisible yet unbreakable chain that bound her tender, yearning soul. Then one fading afternoon, as the orange-gold sunlight bled across the desert landscape, painting the distant mountain peaks, a fiery crimson Silas made his most devastating, barbaric decision. He summoned Alara, and with a tone so utterly detached, as if he were haggling over a worn-out piece of cattle, he declared, "I have arranged for your transfer, Alara. You will belong to Kyle, my stable master. He will teach you humility, how to labor, how to live as a commoner. It is a fitting punishment for your uselessness, for the profound shame you have inflicted upon my name." Alara's heart did not merely shatter into 100 pieces, it disintegrated into dust, scattering with the silent winds of the West. Sold, given to a mere stable hand, a servant. She, Lady Alara Alden, a daughter of one of Echo Creek's founding families, was to be treated worse than an animal, no more than a discarded commodity. A chilling wave of nausea washed over her. She felt utterly alone, stranded in a vast, desolate desert, with no shade to offer comfort, no single tear left to shed. The wellspring of her sorrow had run dry. All she could do was bow her head, accepting her cruel, undeserved fate, allowing the bitter humiliation to swallow her whole, leaving no trace of her former self. Cale was a man forged by the harsh realities of the frontier. His skin was tanned and leathered by the relentless desert sun, and his deep-set eyes, etched with lines of weariness, seemed to hold the ancient secrets of this rugged land. He was the son of a poor farming family, sold into servitude as a mere boy during a devastating drought that had claimed the lives of his parents, leaving him an orphan in a world that cared little for the lost. His life had been an unceasing cycle of back-breaking toil from the first whisper of dawn to the deep shadows of dusk under the scorching heat of Echo Creek. He had never dared to dream of love or of a life beyond relentless labor. For him, mere survival was a privilege, a daily victory. Cale looked at Alara, this unexpected gift from Lord Silas, another burden on his already aching shoulders. Yet in his weary eyes there was no contempt, no malice, only a profound fatigue and a touch of genuine bewilderment. He had expected a rebellious, spoiled noble, not a girl whose spirit seemed to have been crushed before she even arrived. As Alara was led to the stables, the raw, earthy scent of manure hay and honest sweat assaulted her nostrils, a jarring contrast to the delicate perfumes and antiseptic cleanliness of her father's castle. She had never set foot in such a place, a world utterly alien, a universe apart from her gilded cage. She looked at Cale with a mix of fear and wary apprehension, bracing herself for the contempt, the harsh treatment, the familiar verbal lashings. But Cale merely observed her in silence, offering no judgment, no visible sign of discomfort or disdain. His quiet demeanor was a balm, though Alara didn't yet recognize it. "You may stay here." Cale said, his voice deeper and gentler than she had anticipated, like the soft murmur of the wind through dry cottonwood leaves. "There's a small corner in the storeroom where you can rest. Tomorrow you will begin to learn the duties of the stables, how to care for the horses." Alara blinked, a flicker of disbelief in her eyes. No whip, no immediate scolding, no cruel words, only a strange, unsettling tranquility, an unspoken acceptance that was more bewildering than any punishment. That night, curled miserably on a pile of coarse hay, tears still flowed, but in her heart a faint spark of hope ignited, tiny and fragile like a distant star in the vast desert night. Perhaps here in this humble place she would not be judged solely by her appearance, by the cruel, arbitrary standards of high society. Perhaps here she could for the first time simply be herself. In the days that followed, Cale began to teach Alara the arduous work of the stables, patiently, methodically, step by careful step. From the grueling task of mucking out foul-smelling manure, to feeding the horses dry, rough hay, to the delicate art of grooming them, and even helping to gentle the wild, stubborn mustangs. At first, Alara was hopelessly clumsy, embarrassingly weak. Her soft, unblemished hands quickly became calloused, then blistered and raw. Her back ached constantly, her shoulders screamed with fatigue. She wanted to give up, to weep hysterically, to beg to return to her old world, no matter how full of humiliation it had been. But each time she saw Cale working tirelessly with boundless, unyielding patience and an extraordinary, quiet dedication, a strange, resilient strength began to stir within her, a tiny flicker of defiance, slowly igniting into a steady flame. Cale never once scolded or reprimanded her. He simply guided her silently, sometimes with a gentle, reassuring touch on her hand when she made a mistake, or a quiet nod of encouragement when she managed to complete a task. He taught her to listen to the horses' rhythmic breathing, to feel the powerful beat of their hearts, to understand the unspoken language of these wild yet deeply affectionate creatures. Gradually, Alara no longer resented the work. She began to genuinely love the horses, to find solace in the earthy smell of hay and the golden light of dawn filtering through the stable door. She even came to appreciate the honest dirt and grime on her hands, seeing them not as a mark of shame but of honest effort. She realized that manual labor was not a punishment, but a profound way for her to connect with the living world, with the very pulse of life itself. One sun-drenched afternoon, as Alara was tenderly grooming a gentle old mare, she accidentally dropped the brush. Cale, ever observant, bent to retrieve it for her. As he handed it back, his calloused hand brushed against hers. A warm current, startling and unexpected, ran through Alara. It wasn't fear, but a profound sense of peace, a comforting warmth she had never known. She looked up, her gaze meeting Cale's. In those deep-set eyes, she saw no contempt, no pity, but a profound, almost spiritual understanding, an unconditional acceptance that transcended words. "You're doing well," Alara Cale said, his voice soft as the desert wind, caressing her skin, yet firm with genuine approval. "You possess a kind heart. The horses, they sense it. They like you very much." Those simple words were like a potent balm, healing the old hardened wounds in Alara's soul wounds that had festered for years. For the very first time in her life, she felt truly seen, judged not by her external appearance, not by society's cruel and meaningless standards, but by her true self, by the gentle, earnest goodness of her heart. A genuine smile, unforced, unhidden, as radiant as the morning sun rising over the distant mesas, bloomed on her face. The unspoken affection between Alara and Kale deepened with each passing day, growing like a hardy desert plant, its roots quietly digging deeper into the barren yet surprisingly fertile soil. They began to share stories of their pasts, of unspeakable pains that had long been locked away, and of cherished dreams they had only dared to whisper to themselves in the darkest hours. Kale told Alara about his family, about the devastating famine that had stolen his childhood, about the chilling experience of being sold as mere chattel. Alara, in turn, confessed to him the crushing loneliness within her opulent castle and the corrosive effect of her father's cruel words that had systematically stripped away her soul. In each other they found a profound kinship of spirit, a deep solace in each other's quiet presence, a sacred space where they could truly be themselves without fear of judgment. One crisp evening, as the silver moonlight streamed through the stable's humble window, transforming the rough-hewn interior into a place of quiet magic, Alara and Kale sat close together, gazing at the myriad stars twinkling in the vast, boundless desert sky. Kale took out an old tarnished button, carefully preserved and cherished, as if it were a priceless heirloom. "This was my father's button," he said, his voice deep, filled with the weight of memory and unspoken longing. "He gave it to me before I was sold. He told me, 'Son, wherever you are, always remember who you are and never give up hope.' It's a reminder of my roots and a promise to find freedom not just for myself, but for those who are vulnerable, those who have no voice." Ilara looked at the button, then at Kale, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She sensed his enduring resilience, his unwavering loyalty, his innate kindness, and his profound dignity. She leaned her head gently on his shoulder, feeling more peaceful than she had ever felt in her entire life. This, she realized with a profound certainty, was true love, true acceptance, a bond forged in shared hardship and silent understanding. However, peace was a fragile thing in the untamed West, and it was not destined to last. One sweltering afternoon, a group of ominous strangers, led by a cunning and ruthless woman named Lady Lyra, arrived in Echo Creek. They were Lord Silas's creditors, a flock of ravenous vultures descending to claim their prey, and they had come to seize Alara, viewing her as nothing more than a commodity collateral for a debt. "She is our property." Lady Lyra snarled, her gaze cold as a winter storm, sharp as a hunting knife, fixed on Alara with utter contempt. "Lord Silas owes us a substantial sum, and his daughter will pay the price. We will take what is ours." Alara recoiled, her heart pounding like a frantic drum threatening to burst from her chest. She knew she couldn't fight them, but Kale, without a moment's hesitation, stepped in front of her, his tall figure solid and unyielding like a towering mountain. "She is no one's property," Kale declared, his voice ringing out with astonishing power and resolve, unlike his usual quiet demeanor, like thunder breaking through a clear sky. "She is a free human being. She is not a commodity for you to buy and sell. She is not yours to take." A fierce brawl erupted. Kale, though outnumbered, fought with a desperate courage like a wolf cornered in its den. He used his formidable strength and surprising agility to fend off the attackers, each punch, each calculated movement infused with an unwavering determination to protect the woman he loved. Alara watched, her heart thumping, not from fear, but from a surge of awe and admiration. She had never witnessed Kyle fight like this. He wasn't just defending her, he was defending her very dignity, her inherent right to live freely. Finally, Kale, bruised and battered, but unyielding, managed to repel the creditors, forcing them to retreat in bitter humiliation. After the skirmish, Kyle was lightly wounded, but he managed a weary smile, reassuring Alara. Alara tenderly nursed his wounds, her heart overflowing with gratitude and a deepening love. She realized that Kyle was not merely the one who had freed her from the shackles of societal prejudice. He was also the one who had helped her discover her own inner strength, her true worth, and the profound meaning of life itself. But the danger had not passed. Indeed, it was only just beginning. A darker, more insidious force lurking behind the creditors began to reveal itself. It was the House of Ravenwood, a family steeped in ancient power and ruthless ambition, led by a mysterious man in a black hooded cloak. He did not merely seek to collect debts. He intended to manipulate Alara into a pawn in his grand game of power, to exact a brutal revenge upon Lord Silas for a much deeper, older grudge. He was the very embodiment of malevolence, of the creeping shadows that always threatened to consume this wild land. One moonless night, as Alara and Kale slept soundly in the fragile peace of the stable, soldiers from the House of Ravenwood broke in. They seized Alara and Kale, binding them tightly with rough, thorny ropes, and dragged them away like hunters claiming their helpless prey. Elara was consumed by fear wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud, but this time her terror was not just for herself, but overwhelmingly for Kale. She couldn't bear the thought of him suffering any harm because of her. They brought them to a desolate, isolated mountain where a deep chasm yawned black and terrifying as the very maw of hell. The man in the black cloak appeared, his eyes glinting with a cold, cruel satisfaction, a sadistic smile twisting his lips. Lord Silas has committed many sins, he intoned, his voice echoing in the dead of night, chilling Elara to the bone. And his daughter will pay the ultimate price. I will cast both of you into this abyss, so that all may know that no one, absolutely no one, can defy the House of Ravenwood. Let this be a chilling lesson for all who dare to cross my path. Kale struggled furiously against his bonds, but the ropes were too tight, cutting cruelly into his flesh. Elara looked at Kale, tears streaming down her face, a torrent of despair. She would not let him die for her. Her ultimate fear, the terror of losing him, ignited an explosive surge of willpower within her. No, Elara screamed, her voice tearing through the night, raw with pain and fierce determination. Release him. I will do anything you demand. Just don't harm him. The man in the black cloak merely sneered, his voice dripping with cruel mockery. Too late, my lady. Your fate is sealed. Your love, as touching as it may be, cannot save you. He gestured to his soldiers to push them into the chasm. In that final, desperate moment, as death itself seemed to beckon, Kyle mustered every last ounce of his strength, straining against his bonds, and with a guttural roar, snapped the ropes. He pulled Elara close, shielding her with his own body, and together they tumbled down the steep, rocky slope, crashing against jagged rocks and sharp outcroppings. They landed in a narrow, hidden ravine, miraculously surviving the perilous fall. Both were severely wounded, their clothes stained with their own blood, but they were alive, breathing in ragged gasps. In the dark, confining space of the ravine, they clung to each other, feeling each other's warmth, the frantic beat of their hearts. In that sacred moment, they realized that as long as they had each other, they could truly overcome anything. We must live, Elara whispered, her voice trembling yet filled with an unyielding resolve. We must live to exact justice, to find retribution for ourselves and for all those they have cruelly oppressed. From that pivotal moment, Elara transformed completely, like a phoenix rising resplendent from the ashes of its own destruction. She was no longer the weak, self-conscious girl she once was. Her fear had transmuted into a burning, righteous fury, and her despair had forged into an extraordinary, unwavering strength. She and Kale embarked on a perilous journey, seeking aid and planning their vengeance not merely for themselves, but for every silenced voice, every crushed spirit. They sought out Aunt Rosamond, Elara's kind-hearted aunt, who had long ago abandoned the corrupt grandeur of the royal court, unable to stomach the hypocrisy and cruelty that thrived there. Aunt Rosamond, her eyes filled with sorrow for Elara's plight, welcomed them with open arms, providing them with much-needed shelter, sustenance, and a small sum of money to begin their new lives. She also shared with them chilling tales of the insidious plots woven by the House of Ravenwood, and spoke of the countless innocent people they had oppressed and plundered, adding fuel to Elara's burning resolve. Elara and Kyle began to gather those exploited by the House of Ravenwood, farmers stripped of their land, slaves subjected to unspeakable abuses, lost souls wandering aimlessly in the wilderness, all yearning for freedom. They shared their harrowing story, recounting the Ravenwood's brutal cruelty and their own fierce yearning for justice and liberty. Gradually, a small community began to form, a beacon of hope in the desolate landscape. These abandoned individuals found newfound hope and strength in unity, in their shared belief in a better, fairer future. One crisp morning, they received intelligence about a group of women captured by the House of Ravenwood being held captive in an abandoned, decaying tunnel, awaiting a grim fate. Elara and Kale knew they had to act immediately. This was not merely an opportunity for vengeance. It was a sacred chance to rescue innocent lives, victims desperately waiting for the light of freedom. They meticulously planned their assault. Kale, drawing upon his combat experience and intimate knowledge of the treacherous terrain, trained the farmers and former slaves in the use of rudimentary weapons, teaching them how to coordinate their movements, how to fight to protect themselves and one another. Elara, with her sharp intelligence, burgeoning courage, and remarkable ability to inspire, led the charge, transforming these once weak individuals into a formidable army of hope. The battle in the tunnel was fierce, brutal, and chaotic. Shouts of defiance, the clang of makeshift weapons, and the thundering sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the confined space, a cacophony that formed a terrifying symphony of survival. Alara, though she had never wielded a sword in her life, fought with every fiber of her being driven by her incandescent fury and her burning desire for freedom. She was utterly fearless. She fought for freedom, for justice, for the people she loved, for the souls waiting to be liberated from their cruel bondage. Kyle was a constant presence by her side, a living shield protecting her from dangerous attacks, his eyes always fixed on her, brimming with unwavering trust and boundless love. In the midst of the brutal melee, a pivotal, agonizing moment occurred when everything seemed to hang suspended in time. The man in the black cloak, a terrifying specter of malice, appeared lunging at Alara with a sharp, gleaming sword, his eyes glinting with pure malevolence. Kale, without a moment's hesitation, threw himself in front of Alara, a human shield. The blade pierced Kale's shoulder, a soft, ragged groan escaping his lips. Blood began to spread, soaking his shirt, staining Alara's hands as she held him tightly. Kyle slumped, his breath growing shallow, his eyes on Alara filled with unbearable pain yet still overflowing with profound love. Alara screamed, her voice cracking with despair and agony. Her heart felt as if it had stopped, the crushing fear of losing the one she loved most, tearing at her very soul. She clung to him, tears streaming down her face like a river mingling with his blood. Pain and a white-hot anger erupted within her, transforming into a scorching inferno that consumed all remaining fear and weakness. She stared at the man in the black cloak, her eyes blazing with an unholy fury, not a trace of weakness left, only an absolute chilling determination for revenge. "You will pay," Alara snarled, her voice firm and resonant, like a sacred curse, an unbreakable vow etched into her very being. "You will pay for every single thing you have done, every life you've crushed, every tear you've caused." With an extraordinary, almost superhuman strength born from her raw pain, her boundless love, and her unyielding will, Alara seized Kale's sword. She lunged at the man in the black cloak, fighting him with all her wrath and unwavering resolve, each thrust of the blade carrying her pain, her yearning for freedom, her desperate need to protect. She was no longer the weak, self-conscious lady she once was. She was a warrior, a fierce protector, a blazing fire in the encroaching darkness, radiant and indomitable. The confrontation was intensely tense, every sword stroke a matter of life and death. Alara, though physically smaller, fought with an iron will and unyielding spirit fueled by her desperate love for Kale. Finally, with a decisive, furious blow, she defeated the man in the black cloak, forcing him to flee in utter humiliation, a broken, defeated figure leaving behind a lingering scent of fear and failure. After the brutal battle, the imprisoned women were rescued, their faces etched with relief and gratitude. They looked at Alara with awe and profound appreciation, as if she were a true savior, a beacon of hope. Kale, though severely wounded, managed a weak smile at her, his eyes filled with overwhelming pride. "You did it, Alara," he whispered, his voice faint but filled with tender admiration. "You are a true warrior." Alara held Kale tightly, her heart overflowing with a bittersweet mixture of happiness and profound relief. She knew that together they had overcome every conceivable challenge, that their love had made them stronger than anything, more resilient than the vast desert itself. In the days that followed, Alara and Kale, hand in hand with the newly freed individuals, began to build a new community. They no longer lived in fear, no longer oppressed by tyranny. They erected simple but cozy wooden homes, cleared the stubborn land, cultivated vast cornfields, and raised herds of sturdy livestock. They lived a life of true freedom, of genuine equality, where everyone was loved and respected, where every person had a voice and their own inherent worth. Alara, once a ridiculed noble, became the revered leader of the thriving community. She was no longer self-conscious about her appearance. Her confidence radiated from within. She was strong, resolute, and deeply compassionate, her heart as vast and open as the desert sky above them. She had transformed the profound pains of her past into a powerful motivation to build a better future, a haven where no one would ever have to endure what she had. She organized community gatherings, listened intently to everyone's concerns, and together with them made crucial decisions that shaped their shared destiny. Under her wise and empathetic leadership, the community grew stronger, more prosperous, a true testament to their collective spirit. Kale was always by her side, her devoted life partner, her steadfast companion, and her unwavering pillar of support. He was the one who had seen the inherent beauty in her soul when the entire world had turned its back. Their love was not merely a romantic bond. It was a profound love for humanity, a fierce love for freedom and justice, a warm, enduring flame that warmed the entire community. He helped her develop plans, protected their hard-won creations, and consistently reminded her of the immense, untapped strength that lay dormant within her. One idyllic afternoon, as the sun began its slow descent, painting the entire desert sky in glorious hues of crimson and gold, Ilara and Kale stood together on a windswept hill, gazing down at their bustling community. Small, sturdy homes dotted the landscape below, smoke from countless chimneys spiraled upwards, and the joyous sounds of laughter and children's playful shouts echoed in the air, creating a harmonious symphony of life. They held hands, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and profound happiness, a happiness hard-won through tears and blood through every shared struggle. "We have found home," Kale Ilara whispered, her voice soft and gentle as a spring breeze. "And we have found each other, Ilara." Kale replied, his eyes filled with a love that had transcended all prejudice and hardship, a love as vast and enduring as the land itself. The story of Ilara and Kale is not merely a tale of romance, but a profound narrative of self-liberation, of discovering one's inherent worth, and of the transformative power of unconditional love. They proved that true beauty resides not in outward appearance, but in the depths of one's soul, in the unwavering courage to face adversity, and in the boundless capacity to love and accept oneself and others. In the harsh, unforgiving world of the Wild West, where each person had to forge their own destiny, Ilara and Kale carved out an epic tale of love, resilience, and boundless compassion. Never allow the prejudices or judgments of others to define your true worth. Real strength emanates from within, from the unwavering courage to overcome adversity, and from the boundless capacity to love yourself and those around you. Believe fiercely in yourself and your unique journey, for every scar you bear tells a powerful story of resilience, and every challenge you face is a golden opportunity to reveal the true depth of your character. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts on this story. What do you believe is the most crucial element for overcoming societal prejudices? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that will touch your heart.